match is ready. I'm excited to see how it goes because this is going to be a tricky one for Titan. There are 6 sideboard cards in the main deck here for the Jeskai deck. 1/10 of our deck is pre-boarded for Titan.
All right, well, no sideboard, no open deck list. Round number 4, both players 3-0 here at the MXP Houston 20K Modern event. One step closer if you can get the W here to seeing yourself into day number 2, and of course, one step closer to that 20,000 once you get into the top 8. We're just going to see the land go for both players here. No turn 1 Amulet. Going to be a Surveil land here for Curtis. Now, does this mean that we don't have an Amulet, or we're just going to wait till a bit later once we know what we're against to basically deploy it because we don't have a super explosive start?
I assume you probably just don't have it. I mean, it depends on your hand too, right? Like maybe because playing an Amulet on turn 2 isn't the end of the world. Like sometimes you just have kills. You're like Amulet, play a land, play another Amulet, play a Grazer, start going off. So it's not something too big, but normally you are just going to see the Amulet on one, especially in the dark. Just like get that going and have the chance to go crazy.
And they are, we're in a tournament this size. There's a chance that they could be sitting in the top tables. They could just look left to right, have an understanding of what the other one is on, and knows that we're going to have a little bit of a bit more time in this matchup. I can take it a little bit more slower. We get my land drops, hit my land drops, multiple land drops in fact each turn, and just straight up as early as next turn we might end up seeing Titans coming down, where we've got one here just literally one land on the battlefield, which is potentially about to surveil. So maybe we could be going that route because of a little bit of inside knowledge from just playing the tables.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that could be going on here, and this is just one of those like very awkward spots where we talk about it. Wen has a lot of main deck cards that people would normally sideboard for Curtis, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. But Curtis is like on the play, has a fast accelerant draw, and has 4 mana, and very easily could start, slamming threats on the next couple of turns. And that's going to force our mana to be tied up until we've answered all those Titans. And that will be a really tricky way to maneuver over the next couple of turns.
Do you see Leyland's binding in hand? Do you also see a dress down? Chat is telling me that they are friends and they both know exactly what they want, so that would also explain potentially why we're keeping this opener. Over on Curtis's side, just a Titan, but not the ability to cast it this turn. A little bit of showmanship here.
Yeah, the fact that they're friends is big note too, because that also means they probably played a good bit, so they know tendencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Curtis is willing to play a slower game as Titan too, so your range of keeps goes up, right? Because you're like, well, he knows the matchup, he knows I have all these sideboard cards, and I know he loves to grind it out, right? And so there's just little things like that can make a world of the difference.
Here comes Lotus. That's going to cost us 2 more cards, so that's going to go into the graveyard. No end of turn dress down into any crazy shenanigans. Still holding it up. Going to play our Triome, which is going to mean that we do have this Leyline binding. Dress down is going to. That was slammed down super quick. So no, you'll find yourself some extra lands. End of turn, that's going to get sacrificed, and now we get to untap potentially into this Leyline's binding. Counter spell in hand as well as Phlage and the One Ring. A lot of options here.
Yeah, kind of the world's your oyster here. I could see a lot of different directions. Like I could see binding. I could also see just play the One Ring. I like kind of this where you like hold up a counter spell, and that way if there's another Titan, you've maybe like gone the distance, but is a bit weak to something like Boseiju, right? Which is like a very commonly played card. Looks like Otawara was the pickup. Now that's a funny one because Otawara you actually like. You bounce the binding, but it can be redeployed right now because there's only 1 mana. But you do get the Titan trigger, so that could allow you to get something like a Boseiju.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, they had a Boseiju in hand as well. Excuse me.
Yeah, we had a Boseiju in hand. I'm trying to work out where we're getting the green mana from.
Well, that's because the Vesuva copied the commercial district on turn 2. That's why we got the double surveillance.
That's why. Okay, let's miss that one. So now the Titan is going to resolve. We are going to get our ETB effect, which means we can go find 2 land, hit them on the battlefield. Of course, tapped. There is no Amulet out right now. And this is the lines. Like when you're Amulet out, you kind of like, okay, now I can go through my combo and do things. It's when you don't have, your best opening draws. When you've got to play this long game, you've got to understand there's a resources battle happening, and how is it best that we navigate it. Where we're going to kind of look through our cards now. It looks like Shifting Woodlands might be one of them. We both know that's a great card, especially once our graveyard starts getting more full. Maybe Saga as well as the other option.
Yeah. A lot that you can do here. The Echoing Deeps lets you copy one of your lands in your graveyard. So you can get a Surveil going there if you want. Maybe smooth your hand out a little bit more.
That's cool. Maybe it's just going to first
yeah,
some mana,
it's
give it haste.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. You get your attack in.
Go to combat.
Yeah, the search, I was going to say, this is a spot where Consign is a pretty big thing here, right? Obviously, Consign probably wasn't happening because we let the first trigger resolve, but maybe there's some weirdness where you want to try and trick your opponent to go for something, right? Sometimes your best bet against these Titan decks is to hope that they like overthink it or do something kind of weird. But both players here know each other, know they're solid. And it looks like we're thinking about getting Saga plus a bounce in. Maybe sometimes you see players go for double Saga in these spots and just sort of grind it out.
Let's have a little look what sweepers there are on this Jeskai control deck. Is there any in the main? One Supreme Verdict. Other than that, just a lot of one-ofs. One Lightning Bolt, one Prismatic Ending, one Unholy Heat.
Yeah, and this counterspell, unfortunately, just kind of stuck in hand here.
Is with these decks, with these Titan decks, the new iteration that we see using the graveyard a lot more. They have to win through combat damage, correct? So would be us chaining the rings off be a good strategy to try to get to the later bit of the game and try and take over them?
Yeah, that can definitely work. You just like chain the One Rings for a while, but it's not something that can go on for forever, right? And that is like an important thing to keep in mind.
I say that because there's two of them in hand, and I think that might be one of the better options that we can deal with, especially as next time we'll have 6 mana, so we can keep up counterspell as well. But the Titan is on the battlefield and does keep getting turned sideways, even if you are dealing damage or not. End of turn, we're going to go fetch.
Yeah, and you've got to know something's up here for playing Arbosagio. It's like, wait, what?
It'll just bounce it back. The deck does what it says. We've got Otawara in hand, and I think the last one might be the Mirror Pool. Could be slightly wrong on that. It's definitely a color slam. Might be Moses Cave. Surveil. Don't want another Triumph. Untap and draw for the turn. I think it was another land. Pretty sure we're going to see a ring, but I'm not a control player really. I leave these sort of decks to a new. I'll just look at him and be like, what do you do in this situation? he looks at me and goes, draw more cards. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I do think that's kind of our best bet at the moment. You're going to need to like eventually work through these Titans, but where you're at right now, it doesn't look like you have those tools, and you got to like get to that point. And like we said, we have a lot of main deck cards on our main deck that are normally sideboarded, so we do have game here a lot more than the normal Jeskai deck might. Like if someone was playing old Jeskai control before this set, and like playing Snapcaster Mage and trying to like grind value and not cheeky do a Phlage stuff, then they would probably be in huge trouble in this matchup.
Oh man, I wish we could go back to that time where we used to have.
It looks like he really, he's like, he knows Otawara is the thing, right? He's starting to pick up the One Ring. You could bounce the One Ring here in order to stop the card draw, but that would give another turn of One Ring protection.
This would be a great sell if he didn't have it, because like in this situation, I don't think bouncing here is great. Like the protection's already happened, is what it is. You're basically stopping them going 3 cards deeper at this point, but which is kind of here or there at this point. They're either going to have the card they need or not. But the Otawara later on might actually be really apparent.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about the Otawara is it's just a good way to protect your Titan this game, right? Just a good, like, sort of like a protection spell.
Amulet coming down. Resolves. No, it doesn't. That's a lie. Counterspell. Which I think, what else do you find off at, really?
Yeah.
This will put Artifact in the graveyard, though, so that's shifting Woodlands one step closer to the living. We've now got land, sorcery, artifact.
Yeah, Mirror Pool in hand.
Are these rings going to be enough? Like that's literally the question right now. Yes, the protection bit is great, but will it draw us enough cards to let us turn this game around before Titan can either potentially play their own ring or be able to get the lethal kill? Which now they don't have the combo kill, being able to do it in their upkeep and just continuously lightning bolt to face. It has to be done through combat damage. It makes it slightly harder and almost a little weakness in this deck, if there is any, you could call it that.
Yeah, kind of in this like gaining a lot of resiliency, you lost some of the burst, and it's a interesting like trade-off here. I'm curious to see what Curtis goes for here because getting the 2 sagas is one way to fight through everything that's going on, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we do see that here. You could also, like we saw there, get like Teleria West plus a bounce land, right? And just have your whole deck in your hand, basically. Trigger remembered on the One Ring. The friends laugh at each other. He's like, "Yeah, I'm remembering," and he's like, "All right, good games, good games."
Go check it. Comes the mirror pool as well, so that was one of the last 2 cards in hand. Then Otawara, bounce your ring. Is there like a crazy line where you bounce your own Titan there and just recast it this turn just for some value, or
Yeah, you definitely could.
you could, Will. It might not be great, Will, but we could do that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to process the ring bounce. I feel like there's something I'm missing that's obvious here. That's like, for some reason, Curtis is fine with the protection happening. Right?
Yeah, I got you. So Phlage is doing 3 to the Titan. Lightning Bolt is going to finish it off. That now means you've got Delirium in the graveyard. And that Shifting Woodlands is around. 3 mana up. We know there's a Force Negation. We know there's a ring. That's a Spelunking off the top. Sagas go up to 2.
That is Delirium too, by the way. Land, sorcery, artifact, creature. Shifting Woodlands is a Primeval Titan.
Spelunking's going to get us a card deeper. Finds another Spelunking. No, wrong. It's a
Explore.
thank you. I think we're going to float to green here. If we're going to do that, or are we just going to straight up use the woodlands? Yeah.
Creature, artifact, sorcery on.
Copy. Primeval Titan.
Dress down in hand here for Tingfeng.
Does that change anything? That just stops the 2 cards. Right, we still take 6 damage, but then does them finding 2 lands here do anything crazy? Could they activate the mirror pool in response to the dress down and go off that way? Is that why we're not seeing it?
I think that might be it. Yeah, like the mirror pool in response would put a Titan into play, and that could be an issue. So we're just trying to make sure to hold. If Lumra gets cast, dress down kills Lumra, right? So it might be a spot where we're trying to like catch the Lumra out. Because like we saw earlier, sometimes the Titan deck starts sacking all its lands, so because it's like Lumra's bringing them back, and so
there's also, I suppose, the threat of loads of constructs being made. Maybe we want to save it in case they end up getting made, so then the dress can clean them up nicely as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Phlage now coming back to the grip from the bounce land. We've got another bounce trigger happening. Gonna get the caves back.
Actually, I'll get up this.
Good. I'm gonna say Vesuva. Yeah, I was gonna say Vesuva is normally what you bounce, but with the new graveyard focus, it makes sense. Echoing Deep is just Vesuva for the yard.
They kind of look a little bit the same as well, to be fair. Colorless land, a little bit of purpley background.
Yeah. Art direction. Vesuva, but a cave.
Right, the hand is Dress Down, Null Drifter, double 1 ring. Which we can all see because these beautiful hand cams. Brought to you by the amazing anzidmtg and the awesome production that they puts on. So if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that follow button. And if you've got a spare little, little primey floating around, if you're going to put it on any channel, I do recommend this one. We're going to go fetching. Just get yourself a hallowed fountain. Looks a little bit like there's a Death Star on it, so I'm really happy being a Star Wars fan.
Big circle thing in the sky. Most people moon. Death Star.
It's a Death Star. I think it's in Rogue One where it kind of looks like it comes out. Look, we're getting diverged. It's fine. Dress down. Consigned was what we found for the turn. Go imagine this is going to be a ring turn. We're at 7 life. We can ring and Null Drifter if we want to. We could Null Drifter, consign it, and then play the ring if we hit another land.
I'm going to make a construct and a construct. Sure.
Yep, double contract activation there from Curtis.
Are we end of... So we're just holding up the... dress down here?
I mean, dress down does kill at instant speed those tokens, right?
Oh no, 'cause yeah, it does. We know about the Phlage, so there's no point firing. Okay. But
Yeah.
then why would we not cast the ring here? That's what I'm wondering.
I'm not exactly sure. I'll keep it a buck with you.
This is.
I will make one.
Are we in upkeep or have we drawn for the turn? Are we on the Saga
We're in
triggers?
main phase 1. I was gonna say I think we're responding to Saga triggers.
The
So
searches.
we're going to
searches.
consign the first one.
So I just.
I mean, they go all on the stack, so you can consign them all
Oh.
theoretically.
There you go.
And I think that's what we did, paying 2. Stop both of those triggers
There
happening.
has to be something.
I know.
All right.
Cast, double stone ring you for 2 mana, let's go. Advantage
it's
bar, boom. 4 mana.
Weird game.
Very, very weird game. Especially, I don't even. The fact that we're not casting this ring is really throwing me off.
Oh, wait. I still have
Like I'm like, there's something I feel like I'm missing in this instant. Or we just happy to take another hit from the Primeval Titan.
All right, it looks like we had paid for the construct, but we just forgot to put it in play. So he's like, "Oh, my bad, bud." And he's like, "No worries, friend.
Combat.
Give it haste."
Give it haste. Turn up in sideways. This has got to be in the
This-
in the attack phase, right? Not the pre, because otherwise we can just make the shift in woodlands a creature as well.
Yeah, I believe this is that's almost assuredly attackers declared. Remember too, they're friends, right? So like, there's definitely
Yeah.
some amount of like, yeah, obviously I'm doing it after you've done
Yeah,
that
short
thing.
seven.
You know what's going on.
A little bit of shortcutting going on. Okay, here we get to go a card deeper. Dress down is down the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this isn't perfect for Curtis, but you're still in a pretty good spot. Those
Oh, yeah,
wonders
like-
are going to start getting running in a second, but
3,
like,
4, 5, 6.
looks like we have a lot of mana. We're using Mirror. Oh, so we turned the Shifting Woodlands into a Titan. We're going to copy it now.
Make a copy. ETB doesn't happen. Lies.
Oh,
Jokes on you.
so what's happening is in response to the copy ability on the
Mhm.
stack, we're going to besage you the dress down.
I'm just
Judge,
asking.
I have a question.
Actually, does it have the haste?
No.
Oh. Oh, right. You didn't even give
So-
it. Yeah.
Does this enable anything? Having another Titan in the battlefield, having the trigger happen.
I believe the way this has happened, right, is we were at the declare attackers step. So I don't think this is going to enable any like you're dead spots, but it does matter when the dress down was cast, right?
Yeah.
Because if we did shortcut it and we just thought like, oh, it's better to do it there, then that's potentially a problem, and we could, haste this other Titan attack for 12.
So now we're going to go searching again. Another Saga. Plus another. Yep, it was a Saga plus a foothill. A woodland, sorry.
Woodland's huge here. Obviously, this Titan's sticking around, but just a second Titan for the future turns, really insulating us from anything that Jeskai and yeah, it was at the beginning of combat step, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that means we get to go find more lands. Now, is there a crazy shenanigans combo win here?
No, there's just get Urza Sagas and like
I
grind.
think I'm
It's the scoop phase. I don't have enough time to win game 1, let alone a game 2. So I'm happy. You're my mate. We're going to scoop it up. We're going to go to game number 2, which means we get to go have a look at this dress down deck and what it's got in its sideboard. That's the main Mason. Lots of crazy little one-offs in here. Some dead cards, but the sideboard. Let's have a look at that and see what we can be bringing out and what we can be bringing in.
Yeah, we'll look at the I mean, there's some cards that aren't super great in the main. Like Lightning Bolt doesn't trade with much. Spell Snare is typically dead. And our post board Consign to Memory is still a card that's quite good. We saw it be pretty good in that game. We probably want some more of those. And this is going to be the awkward part, Will. We're pre-boarded for this matchup right now. You might see Obsidian Charmaw come in like over some terrible, like some card you don't really like, just to try and blow up a land, right? But for the most part, it's not very good here, and we have all these dress downs and consigns main. I think we're probably just going to see more consigns entering, and maybe we'll see a lockdown over one of these cards that doesn't line up super well against our opponent, just as a way to clean up, construct tokens and amulets. But for the most part, we're supposed to win this one. Well, you know, we built our deck with this kind of as a benefit, right? We knew we didn't have to put much points in this matchup, and unfortunately, we kind of still got because Amulet's very strong.
Am I weird in thinking that I want to bring this Ghost Vacuum in, or is that just like to try and keep him off Delirium?
I don't hate it. I kind of like where your head's at. That makes sense. I can see that. You also could like maybe theoretically make a Titan or whatever. Oh, it's a 1/1, but like you've got some pretty good lands that you can go grab. I don't know. Like I could see that. Like that to me sounds like just as good as like Lockdown fighting over the other stuff, right? It's all sort of side betty things that you're kind of hoping play out. Like the Kozilek's returns are not very good. The Bolt's not very good. Spell stands aren't very good. They obviously can get lucky sometimes, so I could see like swapping those out and hoping to get there. I could also see bringing in Teferi to bounce the Saga, right? Like especially on the play, maybe try and buy some time. So we'll have to see how we want to go about playing it. But I do think we're pre-board for the most part. There might just be some minor upgrades going on.
Well, let's have a look at what Amulet Titan have got. Of course, 1 game up now. Just need to win 1 more, and then we're going to see them at a nice 4-0 record. That's the main, nothing too crazy there. This is the sideboard. What do you like?
I mean, so if they're friends, right, you probably know a lot of what's going on in the sideboard. You've battled before, so you know that kind of stuff that's going to happen in that regard. With that in mind, you know, Turtle can be kind of good. Mystical Dispute's pretty good. Sage is kind of nice. If you know your opponent doesn't play Blood Moons, plus the deck has a lot of non-basics, you don't really need to worry about the generous int, right? Defense Grid seems pretty strong. There looks to be a lot of counter spells in that deck. So for the most part here, I think we're probably just going to do some like adding of small things. I could see Endurance being added as a way to maybe, you know, like have some flash game fight over the Phlage a little bit, especially because that deck, you know, they're going to keep their Phlages in more because they are trying to like consign and dress down and get a Phlage in early. And for what it's worth, that is a big get for that deck. You know, we mentioned how typically the Titan deck, you know, grinds people out. And part of the reason they get to do that in these matchups is because their opponent takes forever to win. But if you turn 3 a Phlage, right, and it sticks on the battlefield, that's a huge difference. So cards like Sky Turtle can help, you know, bounce a Phlage, and then Endurance can hit the graveyard. But it looks like our Phlage.
Yep, I'm being told in my ear that we are ready. So let's get back down for game number 2 here. Round number 4. Jeskai dress down versus Amulet Titan dress down will be on the play here though. Which, if they can get that early Phlage down, as you said, maybe that's the enough pressure they need to be able to close this game out. I got to help thinking that if that last game, if we went the ring route, where we just kept chaining those rings off, maybe we had a few more resources to be able to actually deal with what was happening on the other side. But we'll never know, as we're going to find out who is going to take this one down. Looking at the opening hand here, I see a lack of lands there from Wanning. Yeah, it's going to be throwing that one back, going down to 6. Over on the other side,
we saw Charmaw there.
Maybe it's because we just got too many bad one-ofs in our deck. You know,
I never do that.
There are a lot of one-ofs that I think we don't want to see in this matchup. So just having Charmaw, there are a lot of colorless lands in the Amulet Titan deck, so maybe we can cheat it out on as early as turn 2, maybe turn 3, and kind of snag one, slow them down a slight little bit. But we'll find out how it goes. As it looks like we've got a keep here from Curtis on the left of our screen.
Yeah, one thing you do see now with like these newer builds, right? Like there's a lot of verges, like you talked about, and like weird lands that like are colorless, and so they sometimes do things like turn 1 Saga as well, because that's like a tutor, like an amulet on suspend 3, right? And so if they go like colorless land, your turn 3 you get to blow up that Saga, right? And that can be kind of a powerful draw as well, as long as you know the game is just going to go long as that Teferi the Bird Time Reveler in hand.
Yeah, we got Teferi, we got Charmander as well in hand, double lands, so we might see fetching up double blue, and this is going to be a powerful opening start here. Saga into Amulet, but we're going to counter that Amulet. So that's step 1 done.
Yeah, that's nice.
Is going to go get blue red, because that's not enough for that colorless land. If we can kind of attack from this angle, I'm all down for it. Do you need to? The one thing we do struggle with is that early win con, as you said. The later the game goes, is it really playing into our advantage, or is it playing more into the Titan stack advantage?
I think it kind of depends on the setup. I think, like if we kind of don't have a bunch of lands like we did in the last game, where we're like shifting woodlands in and kind of presenting Titans turn after turn, then I like it a bit more here for Tingfeng, where for Curtis, if we got like early mana advantage like we did in game number 1, that's going to really switch things up.
3 lands in the graveyard, exactly what you want to see when you play that card. And the turn we're going to go, I imagine Surveilling here. Our hand needs a little bit of work. Here it comes, another red source as well. Is it Charm will cost 1 less or 2 less for each one? It's 1 less, isn't it?
I believe it's 1 less, yeah. Because
Yeah,
against
1.
Tron, you can do it turn 3 on the play if they go like, Tron land, so.
Nothing has ever sounded so sweet to my ears. Surveil. Force. Don't like it. Gonna go to the graveyard. Really looking for that third land drop. Did we find it? Don't think we did. We're gonna have to pass the turn back. It was a null drifter.
Float mana.
Do we even have an? Oh, we do. I said, do we even have a blue card to ditch? But we do. We've got that Teferi. So Saga's gonna float a little bit of mana. Then it's gonna go find. You've got to imagine it's gonna be an amulet.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get mapped for weird lines, but with the floating mana and a bounce land, we might see just like pick up my Boseiju, crack this Analyst, get back all these cards in the graveyard.
Did see the defense grid at the bottom of the deck there, so it looks like that came in out of the sideboard, which we've got to imagine is a pretty good one in this matchup. How's this though? Turn all these lands trigger on the stack.
Yeah, and I think that's enough. Crumbling Vestige, excuse me, I said Verge earlier, but Vestige here. That's 4, 5, 6 mana, right? Because it's a double land. And then, yeah, we float off the Boseiju. Now we have 2 Boseijus in hand, Will.
This is pretty bad beat so far. Remember, we're on a mold to 6. We do have a Leyland Binding in hand. No white mana to cast it, but it looks even worse when my opponent's got 2 Boseijus in hand.
Yeah, did you see Curtis's face? His eyebrow raised. He's like, huh, everything's resolving. You don't have consigned. I'm in a very good spot. What do I do here? Because I have Spelunking and Titan, and I can do either one.
Splunking. Do we have to just force this just to stop, everything that's going on?
Well, right now, Spelunking and Amulet, they don't stack together. So it's not like 2 amulets. It's not cumulative. If you have a Spelunking and an Amulet, basically you can have either one. You can even make a land enter tapped or untapped. So that will give a chance to get rid of the responding to a trigger, but that's about it. Having multiple of them, it doesn't stack like it does with the Amulet. Now this was a second Amulet, I think we would have fought over it. Spectrum Spelunking is sort of a similar spot. It doesn't really stack up, but does allow us to, continue to play lands, sort of curve out here and get multiple sagas going.
Yeah, this if you tell me which one was the control deck, I would say it's the Titan deck right now. At the minute, it's just doing what it wants. Double Saga on the battlefield, we know how powerful that can be. We can just let the game play out like this and just win through construct tokens. Just passing the turn again, though.
Yeah, we picked up a Prismatic Ending for turn with no white sources, and we don't have enough colorless lands in play because we picked up the Crumbling Vestige in order to play around the Charmon now. So we can, play a Titan if we want, but also, like you said, just sit here and activate our Urza Saga for a couple turns, Obviously, time is important here for Curtis. Understands his opponent has a lot of threats. Has a lot of answers, in hand. But, can take his time. Can also just slam the Titan and,
Even if I draw the land, I couldn't cast.
I think he's conceding. I think he's saying, "Hey, friend, you win. I got this Charmon." I think that really what's happening is we're talking about the keep I kept, right? Like, hey, I kept this Leyland Binding Charmon consigned hand. I got a little bit.
Yeah, Spelunking.
I think it's right. I think that's rolling down to 6. The first fetch was really the key one, right? Because we wanted to do some surveilling. We had the trouble. It just is what it is. Sometimes that's magic, and that's how it plays out. And if you're going to do it, you want to do it on camera. You want to do it versus one of your friends, so you don't get too much of a bad beat. But